Hello, and welcome to WriterSpeak, dedicated to the written word and those who produce it. Today in the studio, I would like to welcome Lynda McDaniel, who wrote a pretty amazing book, practical and amazing, Words at Work. Welcome to WriterSpeak, Lynda.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, tell us about this book so that we can know exactly why we would want to buy it.
Well, I wrote this book a number of years ago after I'd been coaching for about 5 years. I have a long career as a writer, and I've been coaching for about 4 years at that time. And I realized from talking to aspiring authors and writers in the workplace how many issues they have that I had early in my career, and I worked through them. And so I like to say, I figured these things out the hard way so that you can learn them an easier way. So I put all this down in the book so that people could overcome their lack of confidence. You know, that's the number one thing that keeps people from writing books and articles and blogs. It's an epidemic of a lack of confidence. And it tugged at my heart because, one, I experienced it early in my career, and two, it's just such a waste of potential and creativity. And so I wanted to encourage people to overcome these things as I had and go on to write and express themselves and just get everything out of them that they can.
I found it to be an extremely practical book. But what I found very interesting about it is there were really quite a few funny parts in it.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad that my humor came across. You know,
I was glad to see humor in it, and it's not just a dry book on how to write or what words to use.
Well, that was my intention, and I'm glad that came across because one of my things that I think makes this book a little different is that I urge people to tap into their creativity. I tell people, as you know, I tell people how creative we all are. And, people will argue with me, I'm not creative, they'll tell me. But, you know, those are just old messages. Those are old things from bad teachers and bosses who liked their red pens too much and all that, telling people they're not creative. And I just beg to disagree. And I encourage people with things like one of the chapters is in the book is called Brain Dump. But I've changed that over the years to now I call it Genius Generator, because I want people to know that when they're doing those fast writing techniques or brain dump, that they're really tapping into their own genius, and they have it. They have ideas they don't even know they have, because that's how our brains are wired, and we have to honor that and tap into it.
It's really quite fascinating that you can meet a good writer who writes really well and they speak poorly. They don't even have many vocabulary words. So just how a person speaks doesn't relate to how they write.
I guess not. I do encourage people to be conversational, but if they're not very good conversationalists, then we'd better get to work on all of that.
But they still can write too.
Well, I guess that comes in the revision, because, you know, one of the things that I say in the book is good writing is really good editing. People tend to think that, and I did, the first few years of my professional writing career, I labored under this secret that I wrote terrible first drafts. And I can thank Anne Lamott, as many writers can thank her, for showing me that people I love to read write terrible first drafts. And when I read that in Bird by Bird, I just in an instant was cured of that. And I wanted in this book to continue that and cure more people that first drafts are not an indication of whether they're a good writer or not. So again, if they aren't very good conversationalists, at least in writing, they get a chance to revise and edit, and that's how they can become a good writer.
I think many authors have to find what their time of day is best. And some people can write first thing in the morning, and then they can rewrite and get it better. Some people can only write at night.
Yeah, I mean, that's great advice. Find your rhythm. Mm-hmm. There isn't one way or that's right.
Yeah.
And so that's good. Yeah, find your own rhythm and stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
You speak about the fear of writing a novel or a book. That there are people who can write blogs, no problem, or write short articles. But many people that you have coached have a fear of a book. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, I guess I can. It's just there's something psychological about this longer process. I think people tend to, even in this age of sort of freewheeling ebooks and video and tweets and all of those things, there's still something about books that has a certain prestige. And so people tend to be a little bit afraid of that they're not up to something as august as a book, but of course they are. And it was years ago, and I wish I could remember the author who said this, but she said, writing a book is like having the bathtub run for a year. And I thought that was so colorful because it's just kind of always there. It's kind of nagging at you at times that you're not working at it. It's always that drip, drip, drip of that. So
that's a great way of putting it.
It is. There's just something about that simile that's so powerful. And so I think they think of that. They think maybe they're not good enough to write a book. But fortunately today with self-publishing, there's a lot less of the gatekeeper that might tell them they're not good enough.
Yeah, and just tons of rejection letters that authors get.
Absolutely.
I got a rejection letter once that said, "Did you know I receive 300 emails a day?"
Well,
and I don't have time to even read your query letter.
Wow. Yeah.
I was so stunned with how rude that was.
Yeah, I think it's time for retirement or a new occupation or something. Yeah. So yeah, that whole thing has been lessened with self-publishing, and so I think that we'll see people easing into books more, but there is still this problem. Actually, you know, I also teach people in the workplace to write stronger proposals and articles, and they have a fear of writing too. So it isn't really just books. It's also just a fear of putting their thoughts down that others can criticize, critique, whatever. We've all had teachers and bosses that were less than politic about our ideas, and so there's a lot of residual with that.
I think that's a really good way how you use the word freewheeling, that, you know, the ebooks, the blogs, the tweets, all the short things, and then you're done.
Yeah.
And it's not a long book.
That's right. And so then they don't know if they'll find time there's just all kinds of
Too
factors.
many excuses.
Too many excuses, that's right. And I try to disabuse them of those ideas that they can if they want to. And of course, it does take commitment, doesn't it? Dedication. There's no doubt about that. But everybody can do it if they want to.
Yeah, it is a matter of if you want to.
Yeah.
I like how you say it's important for writers to use powerful words. Can you give us an example of a few powerful words that are good to use?
Well, you know, the thing is, and of course this again wouldn't come until you're editing, I think, for the most part. Now some people maybe can do it in the first draft. I can't.
Yeah, no, I can see that at least for me, I would write, and then I can read your book and go, oh, this is a much better word, and then I can slot it in there.
Well, one of my favorite examples is what you just said, is like, say you wrote, it was something or other, you know, go in and find those vivid verbs like that. Those, of course, are the passive, boring verbs, but go in and replace that with that something pinches, or, you know, a strong verb like that. Something gouges, it's festooned, you know, whatever is appropriate.
You had a lot of examples. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, and I encourage people to make their own list of favorite verbs, for example, because, you know, there's days that we're more creative than others, so have a list that tells you, reminds you of the words that you could use instead. And just, you know, one of the things I do encourage, especially in the workplace, is don't use big words, because there's this thing from the 80s and 90s where people were, oh, it's called corporate speak and bureaucratese and all that. And there was some convoluted language that was encouraged, actually, and it's still around today, but it's getting weeded out.
You mean words that, oh, that's a long word, but we don't know what it means.
Yeah, and it's kind of just trying to sound a little bit pompous or above the rest or that kind of thing. So I discourage that. But back to your question about powerful words, I mean, sometimes inscrutable is the perfect word. So use those powerful words when they truly are the right word, not when you think, hey, you know, I need to show off my vocabulary or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean by that.
Mm-hmm. To really pack a punch and get the word across.
Yeah, when it's the only one. Supercilious, you know, sometimes that is the perfect words, and other times it's, well, supercilious, you know. So that's what I mean about, like, choose your words carefully, but when you can, sometimes a big word is just the right word. And so what if somebody has to pull out a dictionary or go online to find out what it means? Nothing wrong with that. I've learned a lot that way. So.
Yeah, or I find, you know, gee, I keep using this word happy all the time.
Yeah.
And looking at the thesaurus, there must be other words. And it is fun. It's fun to find other words. I don't mean words that nobody hardly ever uses, but the powerful words.
Yeah. And my thing when I'm rereading my emails, for example, everything's great. And so I go back and try to find some different words besides great. Yeah.
Well, the computers are amazing, because that's one of the last things I do when I finish a book is I'll go through it one more time and I'll go, how many times did I use this word? And you actually can put it in, and it will tell you how many times you use that word in the entire document, and it's shocking.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's a good tool to use. Yeah.
I think we all have words that we repeat over and over, and I think it's finding what those are and not using them too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the best part I liked in your book were the 11 ways to achieve powerful writing. Could you read us a little bit about that, or
I'd be happy
tell us?
to.
I hope it wouldn't ruin the whole book if you told us all of
no,
them.
not at all. I love
Okay.
sharing these. This is why I wrote the book, was to share what I'd learned all these years of writing.
Well, I just thought that was a real standout for me, and it made it different from other books.
Good.
On words were the 11 ways.
Good, and it's 11 ways to write faster, stronger, better. So the first one is don't skimp on planning and organizing. And, you know, that's just so important to stop. It doesn't have to be for a long time, but think about who, what, where, why, when, how, the six wise men of journalism. I'm a journalist, so that's important to me. And it makes it easier then, as you're writing, to have this GPS, if you will, of your journey. Write a Velcro lead. One of the things, I don't do a whole lot of article writing anymore, but one of the things I love the most is coming up with a lead that's like nothing I've written before. The lead, of course, being the first few lines in a piece. And I want to grab the readers. Number 3 is vary the pace. People sometimes can write all like kind of choppy sentences or all really long sentences. And I like to see people mix it. Again, not until the editing phase. But if you see a bunch of long sentences, break them up. Maybe even add a sentence fragment, gasp, the grammarians are gasping. But today we're much more casual, and a good old sentence fragment can add real punch. So that's...
Yeah, I found it interesting in studying writing and taking a lot of courses myself, is having a one-word sentence I didn't think was allowed. But, just saying why, you know.
I know, see how powerful that is, real punchy.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think one-word sentence would be powerful.
Yeah. So that's great, yeah. And then take a walk. Oh, this is my one of my favorites. Take a walk and then either finish writing or edit again. Some of the inspiration I've gotten walking my dog. And I urge people to keep, nowadays you could record on your cell phone, or if some of us are still enjoy a casual like pencil and index card. But capture those gems because they're ephemeral. And so when you're walking, and it doesn't just refresh your mind and body, but it actually encourages creativity.
Being physical, I think.
Yeah.
If you're just sitting all the time and trying to write, it doesn't always, you can't always get anywhere with your piece. But I find if I go bike riding,
oh, good, yeah.
And sometimes I'll go for a bike ride if I'm just can't figure something out.
Good, yeah.
And I'll go over it and over it. And I think that just the act of doing something physical instead of sitting there, brings out more creativity. I think that's what you're talking about.
I am, and allowing that. Somehow the left brain, for a lack of a better term, the left brain kind of quiets down and allows the right brain to be more active.
I think more writers need to know that. So many people think, oh, a writer sits at a desk for 8 hours.
Yeah. No, you really need to take breaks and do those things. And like you said, move your body. Yeah, that's great. Check your vitality dipstick. And that's where you've edited a few times. And this is one of the big concerns a lot of aspiring authors have, is after they've read it a few times, they think, gosh, this isn't fresh. Who's going to care? Just because we, the author, we've gotten a little tired of our own voice.
They're done with it.
Yeah. And so that's where, check on that. Take a little break, as you just said. Take a break and allow that to go back and see it. It might even be a few days to get that vitality back. Look at it from the reader's viewpoint, which is always, in fact, we should write to our readers, not at them. That will keep it fresher too. And that's where you look for chances to do those vivid verbs and those perfect words and that kind of thing. And then make the pages easy to read. This is extremely important. I was shocked when I first started teaching that my students would say if they didn't like the looks of, let's say, a report or even an email, whatever, they would just delete it. And I said, well, what do you do if somebody asks you if you got it and received it? And they said, oh, I just tell them must not have come through. Well, now this was a real eye-opener for me, and I share this with people now to say, people, something more interesting is just a mouse click away. And it's real important to keep this in mind, or just another book away, or whatever. Put it down in the stack and get another one. So if it's easier on the eye, if there's some white space, there's some subheads with bold, there's something interesting on the page, it makes your readers stay with you. And now number 7 is tie it all together. The ending, too often. Now this book was written as much for business writers as it was for authors. So, a lot of business writing just sort of, I say it's like a shy person at a party. It just sort of slips out the door without saying goodbye. And I want people to proudly say goodbye with something that's going to have a lasting impression, maybe a call to action, whatever. A lot of nonfiction books, each chapter can have a call to action. And to keep the reader engaged and to inspire them to do something. Number 8 is print and proofread. And printing out is so important, even something as long as a book, because we see more mistakes. We see where something makes us stumble. We catch things, typos. Something about the electronic thing versus hard copy. We really do see differently that way. And then, of course, proofreading just can't be stressed enough. Even someone else to proofread for you.
And reading out loud.
Yeah, that's number 9.
Yeah.
And read aloud for flow. Oh my goodness, we will hear so many clunky phrases that way. And do you do that? Have you found that?
Yeah, I've learned to do that. And when your eye may not see that you wrote 2 thes, it'll just skip over the second the.
Yeah.
But if you're reading it out loud, you go, oh,
yeah,
there's 2 thes there.
It's great. Yeah, it really helps. Number 10 is sleep on it. I confess I like nothing better than crossing things off my to-do list. But I've taught myself, especially let's say it is an article and I want to send it to my editor, say it's 4:30 in the afternoon, and I think, oh boy, I'm going to cross this off my to-do list. And of course, a lot of my students and coaching clients admit they like to do this too. If we can just nobody's going to read it at 4:30, right? Or 5. And so send it the next morning and have one more look. It is amazing. Not only did we rest, but the brain, subconscious, our minds are always, writers are always writing in a way because our subconscious really doesn't sleep. And I've awakened and gone, did I really say such and such? And so sleep on it is just a marvelous
And
way.
that so applies to emails.
Oh, yeah.
The worst emails can be sent because people are rapidly doing things. They're not thinking enough. They're not being polite enough.
That's right. And if we can rest and see it. Just this isn't on the list, but another tip on emails is to send it to yourself. If it's a really important email, maybe a new client or a publisher or an agent or whatever, send it to yourself. There's something about opening it and seeing it that you really.
That's very good.
Yeah. And then the final one, you'll love this one, is the number 11 is read voraciously, because not only do we learn from that, but by osmosis, we see beautiful writing that inspires us and reminds us that we can do more than it was small. You know, we can do more than that. We can use alliteration and similes and anecdotes and all those wonderful tricks of the trade. So.
I just love your passion.
Oh, thank you. After all these years, I still get very excited about writing. Yeah, so.
This book won a Best Books Award, too.
Yeah, I was real proud of that.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so.
I thought we would talk a little bit about your coaching.
Good.
And what is that like? And what does it mean?
Well, I just help people. Like, let's talk about my book coaching. I've just about a year and a half ago formed a business with a longtime colleague, Virginia McCullough, and it's called The Book Catalysts. And we're coming out with a new book, which I can tell you about in a minute. And what we do is we use these years of experience that we have, and we do it to help aspiring authors just produce the best book they can. And so we get them off to a good start. We make sure that they're writing to their readers, not at them. As experts, it's so easy to forget about beginner mind, that we've got expert mind, and authors need to shed that a little bit and get down to beginner mind, so they're writing to their readers, not at them. Now I'm referring to nonfiction here. And all those things to make sure that they've got the best format. Are they giving their readers enough takeaway, enough benefits, not just talking at them, but benefits to make the reader's life better, and all those things. So we work on that together. Then they go off and write, and of course we do some editing, but also coaching some on getting them their confidence and keeping them motivated, ideas about marketing their book. I don't claim to be an expert on that, but I know a lot of resources for that. So it's just everything they need to start, finish, publish, and market their book.
So it's editing, but much more.
It is, okay. Yeah.
I wasn't really sure what a coach was.
Yeah, I have several clients I'm working with now that are management consultants and trainers, and they have vast amount of expertise, and they've really never written a lot other than, obviously correspondence and reports and things like that. So they have skills, but they need to put this into a book that's going to appeal to the beginner mind, as I mentioned, and written to them, encouraging them, giving them tips and takeaways.
So if somebody wanted a coach to help them with a book, they would be able to contact you and your associate?
Yeah, they can, and just it's easy to remember. They can also contact me through LyndaMcDaniel.com, and just let me know, and then I can. We also offer. It's just a 30-minute free consultation, and so that they can feel comfortable with where this is going to take them and how it's going to help them.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be able to tell people about this.
Good, yeah.
Sounds like a pretty needed service these days. People are just writing now.
Yeah, well, with self-publishing now, they can, and it's so wonderful because all this expertise and creativity can be expressed and shared, unlike in the past where we all have rejection letters and so...
Trying to find an agent and all this,
yeah,
all the rigmarole to go through is now eliminated. Well, tell us what you have cooking now.
Okay.
And I want to mention you have written over 10 books. You are an extremely prolific writer. I was very impressed with your list of books.
Oh, well, thank you. I've had a long career, and I have been a full-time writer for many years. But I'm especially excited about our upcoming book. We hope it'll be out late fall, and it's going to be totally an ebook so that it can have all sorts of hyperlinks and videos and webinar clips and things in it. And its working title is the Fast Start, Strong Finish Method for Writing Your Book. And we think of it more as a kit. It's going to be a step-by-step, take you through the whole process, keep you encouraged, keep you writing, everything you need to finish that book and to have it full of your own creativity and as good as it can be.
It seems like this must be something new for you, that you're adding videos to it and webinars. And so you've written so many books, but it must be exciting for you to be on this new adventure.
Yeah, I've been doing webinars now for clients for, I guess about 4 or 5 years. And so we do have some webinars that we can pull from. But there's other experts that we admire too, that we might give a link to their video or that's on YouTube or whatever. I mean, gosh, we're only beginning to tap into the potential of all of this electronic and digital information. So,
well, it's good you're keeping up to date.
Yeah, yeah. And it seemed particularly appropriate for this kind of a kit to help people have, you want to know more, here's some more that we, don't want to necessarily put in the kit, but that you have access to that way. So we're excited about
Well, please tell us where we can buy this wonderfully practical book.
The Words at Work.
Words at Work.
Okay, that's available through LyndaMcDaniel.com and Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all of the usual suspects. But I also hope to have it more available locally in Sonoma County and the region, and so I'm excited about that. So for now, those are the main places you can get it.
Yeah, it does sound like it will be easy to obtain.
Yep.
And I certainly wanted everybody to be able to buy your book.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming for being with us on WriterSpeak.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
It was wonderful having you.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope it helps some people get inspired about their own writing.
I just think you're incredibly passionate, and it's nice to hear your passion.
Oh, thank you.
WriterSpeak is produced by the Community Media Center of the North Bay. We would like to thank our sponsor, the Sonoma County Gazette. Please join us next time for a chat with another talented writer.